All right, let's begin. So, well, first off, really happy to be here today in front of a crowd of very sophisticated people. This is a very specific event. I'm with someone today who fits right in this crowd, who's Julia Reich, CRM manager at BVG. I don't know how to pronounce the full BVG.
Berliner Verkehrsvertreter.
Exactly. Thank you, Julia. So I know the panel discussion was advertised only with Julia's face, so I'm not piggybacking on her panel discussion. We were set to talk together today. My name is Simon. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Batch. We are a customer engagement platform. So for today we have four topics for you guys. So quick introduction. In Germany, no one knows about Batch, so I'm just going to say a few quick words about what we do. We'll introduce BVG, but I'm assuming more people here. Maybe some of you have come using the Jelbi app or one of the BVG apps. So we've been working with Julia and her team for like a year and a half. So lots of challenges to get this project off the ground that we'll talk with Julia. We'll talk about some of the growth results that the app has got since it launched in 2019. We'll showcase some of the CRM engagement tactics that we've put in place together with the Batch team and Julia's team, and then we'll also talk about some of the next steps we have for the project. BVG has this specificity to operate on very long periods of time. That's one of the I would say differentiators of BVG as opposed to many mobility startups. BVG has been on the market for 94 years, and it's probably here for decades more. So different time scales, and we'll talk about what we have in stock for the future. So I'll just take 1 minute because again, the feedback since this morning is that no one knows Batch. So I'm just going to make a quick introduction. We've been in the market for 7 years, but we're roughly 100 people. French company based in Paris. We're a customer engagement platform, so we help large consumer brands orchestrate personalized user experiences across push notification, email, in-app messaging, and web push. So we've been around for 7 years. We bootstrapped for a very long time. We only raised 20 million euros for the first time in the history of the company's life last year. We operate in more than 20 countries. We deliver north of 500 billion push messages per year for all our clients. And we're investing heavily in Germany these days because we have this very strong, what we call radical approach to data privacy. We host all of our client users' data in France on physical servers. So nothing never leaves the EU, which is something that resonated with Julia and his team. We work with 350 clients in the luxury, retail, media, finance, and mobility categories. In Germany, we work with brands like Welt, like DM, obviously BVG, the FC Bayern, and a few others. And we bring a few what we call core differentiators to the market. We try to remain a very, very simple product. We live in a world where customer engagement and CRM products have become insanely complicated, and that complexity tends to dominate people that use those softwares, not the other way around. So our product team says no a lot. That's what they say. We still bring very sophisticated platform, lots of personalization options that we'll show you afterwards. We have this radical approach to data privacy, and ultimately we try to fit deeply in the ecosystem. So in Germany, we're very happy to work with great partners like Customalytics, for example. We integrate with 50 plus technology partners, CDPs, analytics. We're going to talk about Trafi. Trafi is the mobility as a service platform that BVG is using to run Jelbi. Enough about Batch. I'm going to hand it over to Julia, and then the rest will be just a conversation. So maybe we have 2 slides here, a little bit about BVG. I'm assuming some of you are familiar with what BVG is, but maybe for the others, quick reminder, and then you can tell us about Jelbi, and then we'll dive into the challenges in the CRM strategy.
Sure.
Yeah?
Thank you for the introduction.
Sure.
Yeah, like you said, hopefully you all came here with public transport. BVG is the public transport company for Berlin. We currently have 4 apps, which is debatably maybe a bit too many, but there's a Fahrer Info app, there's a ticket app just as a very quick and short way to buy tickets. We recently launched the BVG Mover app, which is a ride-sharing app for the eastern part of Berlin where there's not so many public transport options, so people can still be moving around. And then lastly, Jelbi, like you said, was launched in 2019 as a mass platform, so mobility as a service platform, which is the team that I'm in, and it's supposed to be your one-stop shop for mobility in Berlin, so not just public transport, but also all the shared mobility that has recently popped up everywhere. So the bike sharing, the scooter sharing, car sharing, everything that you have. And all of those, or most providers that are on the Berlin market today, are deep integrated into Jelbi, so you only need the one app. You don't need the 10 different apps from every single provider. You just have your one BVG account. You add your payment method, and then you can find, book, and pay through that in Jelbi, which we think is great. And yeah, BVG, like we identify as like the heart of the city that keeps people moving, hence the heart logo that we have. And so obviously we welcome all other forms of transportation that people can share, and that lets people keep their personal car at home.
Excellent. Maybe we should have tried by applause or by raised hands. Yeah. Who's using who in the room is using a one-stop shop mobility hub for inner city movements 1, 2, 3? Oh well, that's a lot. Oh, that's cool. No, should I ask who's using Jelbi in?
I mean, yeah. Please.
We have we have some Jelbi users. Excellent. That's cool. Great. And I was having dinner with this guy, Axel, last night. So he was telling me like the one-stop shop, one central account payment is really, really convenient because there's so many e-mops and e-scooters, and you can just, one of the top features of the app you were telling me is the scanner, right? You can just input your details once, and then you scan any e-mop service, and then you're good to go. Yeah. Oh, excellent. So yeah, and also one of the very interesting bits you were telling me about what you're doing is that a Berlin app for Berliner, run by an institution that is not going anywhere, as opposed to, and I guess this is an interesting segue for the few challenges that we wanna discuss. But the mobility as a service. So we're a French company, we're in Paris, but we live the same experience, which is on a daily basis we navigate a city that is littered with dozens of different bike, e-mob, e-scooter sharing services. So I guess the experience is the same everywhere. But do you wanna walk us through maybe the inception of the project, and then maybe tell us about what are the trends that have marked this market over the past couple of years? What has changed, and where is it at? Yeah, where is it at today?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we started out in 2019 with Trafi, which is our development partner from Lithuania, and we got a very advantageous or beneficial press review by Forbes that called us the new Amazon for transportation, at least for Berlin, because we're on a local market. That was very exciting. As you can see, there's a lot of mobility service providers in Berlin. That should be about all. There's already been some consolidation, right? WeShare went to Miles. Bird actually now left the market. Tier bought Nextbike. So there's a bunch of stuff happening. And if you had one of those apps, now you probably won't use it anymore. If you had Jelbi, you could just stay and switch to a different provider. It's very easy. And we have, except for on-demand, we currently don't offer right now, but all the other transports you can buy in Jelbi. And that's the idea is to get everyone in eventually.
Noting that you have the unfair advantage of being the only one able to sell
public transport tickets. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that's the main advantage. One of the main perks of using Jelbi. Yeah. So navigating a pretty complex market, and also by raised end that was interesting. But you were also telling me about the many challenges of evangelizing what you guys call multimodal transportation. So in the Jelbi app, you'll find, is it 6 or 7?
7.
7 modes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit on the
Sure,
the
yeah.
demographics and the different
sure.
usage?
So, as I mentioned before, 7 different modes. We do find that a lot of users stick to one mode, which I guess is great, but obviously maybe there's so many use cases to move around the city, or you need to move your IKEA shelf or whatever. So we do want to encourage users to try out different modes. Maybe you're too lazy after the club to walk home, you'll call a taxi. So I think there was a talk by Feature earlier that talked about North Star metrics. So maybe the number of modes could be our North Star metric that we're trying to promote and get up. We do find that the majority of our user base is male, kind of like 30 to 39 years of age. Interestingly, like the individual mobility providers have the same tendency. It just seems to be a thing across the board, not just for BVG. For normal, regular users, they use 1.3 modes. Now, in fall, it could be up to 1.9 modes on average. For heavy users, it's currently they use 1.9 point modes on average. Could be up to just over 2. So that's something that we're really trying to get up. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. The next really big topic of discussion that between us when we started the project, and I can see a few faces here in the room who have been filling dozens of Excel pages when you put out the tenor is data privacy. So what we realize coming from the French market is that in France, corporations will tell you that data privacy is important, and then they'll do the opposite, or they'll just don't care about it as deeply as they expressed it early on. What we discovered in Germany is that it's the other way around. Like enterprise clients are going to be very adamant on, and then they'll enforce it. So, given the differentiators we bring, we've been very curious about that. But that was a big thing. And maybe tell us a little bit, Julia, about the BVG policy on data privacy.
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I started at Jelbi 3 years ago, and then shortly after I started looking for a CRM tool because BVG did not have a CRM tool yet. So I started looking. Obviously, there's a lot of American players on the market, the big tools. I was like, these look great. And then along came Schrems 2, the verdict that made the Cloud Act unnecessary or overthrew it. And then our legal team was like, so by the way, you now can only be using European-based tools, and like no data is supposed to be going anywhere else outside of the EU. I'm like, great, let me just quit my job and find something else. No, didn't do that. I just tried again. I searched again on the European market, and I found Batch, and they had the patience to answer all our questions and fill out all the Excel sheets, like you said, that our legal team put together. It took a while. It was very exhausting, but at least now we know what is happening to our data, or actually what isn't happening to our data, and we know it's safe. So we're very happy about that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Julia. And also we were helped a lot by your friends at Custom Lytics in this
Shout
process. One of the other challenges that we discussed when we were preparing this panel discussion is why you still need to, so you operate on a 5-year budget, is that it? That is renewed every...
So there's a transportation contract in Berlin that is made between the city of Berlin. BVG is a public company, so it's between the city of Berlin and BVG, which basically sets the funding for the next couple of years, and for that funding, what we're supposed to be delivering on that. And luckily for Jelbi, we're actually part of this contract, so the city has has trust in us that we could do some good for the city, make it a bit greener, and yeah.
So in the end, you end up operating a fairly high impact, sophisticated project with a very small team.
Yeah, we're like 20 people. Yeah. Plus Trafi who develops. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, and that is interesting as well. I mean, that's that this really fitted in our philosophy of keeping a simple product that can be integrated easily and can be operated by few resources. Again, coming back to this idea that most tools on the market tend to dominate the people that use them and not the other way around. So that was interesting to see how you and I mean, in the end, you guys operate the service and you outsource pretty much the entire development, whether the front end or all the core services, and that was an interesting approach. And by the way, so with Trafi, you run like a 2 years long POC to demonstrate value before we actually
we put out a tender, and now it's for at least 5 years we're going to be working together.
That's cool. And last but not least, the biggest of your challenge, Julia. So this is the sort of CRM master map that we have at Batch to sort of map our client sort of maturity levels in terms of CRM practice, and also in order to map all of the different touch points that can be activated with Batch at every step of the customer, the user journey. And I mean, it's funny because we work with huge companies, huge clients, and this map sometimes is operated by, I don't know, dozens, sometimes hundreds of people across the organization. And with BVG, it's just one person doing everything. So yeah, what is your...
It's a bit daunting. I'm sure we're definitely, unfortunately, not yet covering all of those use cases, but yeah, I'm the first person at all of BVG who's been around for this long with the title CRM manager. So that was exciting, but daunting. And yeah, like you said, I try to handle as much as I possibly can. If everyone else is also a one-person team, feel free to reach out after so we can discuss ideas, because it is tough, right? I'm in my own head, in my own bubble. I obviously try to come up with campaigns that make sense, but it is good and I obviously can talk to Guillaume and your team who help out, but sometimes it's good to have a peer just in the company to do that with.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, nice little segue for diving a little deeper in some of the results that we've been able to come up with in the first year of operating Batch as a CRM tool for Jelbi. So obviously we were trying to come up with the KPIs that you guys track. So you were telling me, obviously, traffic, new installs, MAUs. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on on the KPIs that you keep an eye on?
Sure. Yeah. So obviously installs, it might not be the most important metric, but obviously we need to know that people know of us and are happy or interested in downloading the app. We look at monthly active users, but more importantly, so at what we call monthly active riders, so the people that actually not just use the app to maybe look up a route, but also then to book a service. We were also interested in how long it takes people to convert. The first micro conversion would be a payment added, because with my activation campaigns that I'm running, as we'll see later on, that's obviously something that is interesting to me. So right now, that's about it. People do it usually within the same day. The time to first ride from install, that's about 2 to 3 days. And then the multimodal ratio, as I was mentioning before, how many modes does a user use on average? Yeah.
Cool. And so in terms of MAU growth and messaging activity, so I think we started a year and a half ago, starting with the messaging activity a year ago roughly. So some pretty cool results. So obviously, challenges of getting an app started from the ground up. But interesting to see those results. We also look, so these are the Jelbi KPIs, I would say. These are the most sort of standard CRM KPIs that we look at. This is a quick snapshot of the batch interface for a campaign that was delivered. So this one, I think, the rendering is pretty shitty, but I think it was the one you guys sent when the bird service was discontinued, pretty much overnight.
2 days ago, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was not our decision, but they tried to leave the German and the European market because there's just too much competition on the kick scooter market, right? So it's sad for us and the users, but yeah, obviously we have to tell them.
And it's a good sort of illustration of some other differentiators we bring, which are around real time, the ability to react really quickly when you run a mobile first service for mobility purposes. When something that sudden happen, it really discontinues the quality of the service you bring, and you need to be able to launch a push notification or in-app messaging campaign in a few minutes. Otherwise, you'll start seeing user complaints come in pretty much instantly, right? So
yeah, it was supposed to be not sudden, and then we checked the app and they were gone, and I'm like, I'm going to reschedule this push for right now.
Cool. So a couple KPIs about the number of what we call opt-in users, the people that have given permission to be reached out to through push notification, the MAUs, and the average opt-in rate. So you guys probably know that opt-in rates vary a lot between iOS and Android, specifically because Android has an opt-in per default mechanism where iOS requests permission. But we've ran a very long blog post on the new Android 13 update, which is going to change this, and will bring Android and iOS on par in terms of collecting user consent. So this is gonna change in the coming month. And then maybe for the end of this second part, we want to dive a little deeper in some of the use cases. So our approach when we start working with clients, and when we want to map their use cases in the sort of pre-sales project setup phase, is we use this as a CRM manager I-1-2 methodology, and which then we translate in data that we will tag, and that will come up on the platform so that you can use it for targeting and personalization purposes. So Julia, if you want to maybe walk us through a few simple but effective use cases that you've been able to implement.
Yeah, probably the most no-brainer one is welcoming new users, which I'm sure you all do. So after they've installed the app, I will try to get them an hour later by welcoming them and getting them to register an account or just log in with their BVG account that they might already have from a subscription or from the other app. And if they don't, and if they haven't done it 3 days later, I will nag them again, and five days later as well. Unfortunately, we don't really have incentives right now, which would probably make this a bit more effective also in the rest of the user journey, but we're working on that for next year.
Cool.
And same for the onboarding. So say they do actually have an account, they've registered, but for some reason they haven't, why would you register and then not use the app? So we're trying to nudge them towards adding a payment so that they're ready to go, because that's all you need, unless obviously you want to use car sharing or mopeds, then you will also have to verify your driver's license and your ID, but everything else you can just use. And then obviously trying to get them to the first ride, to the first big happy moment that will then hopefully keep them coming back. And of course, Batch allows you to set cancellation events, so if the user happens to do it within the time frame that I've given, then he's not going to get that message. And then other general retention campaigns, we did have a form, or we do have a form of vouchers this year, but it was mainly just handing it out. There's no digital process yet. Welcome to BVG. Everything takes a bit longer. But we went to some events and we had vouchers, so I was at least able to remind people if they dropped under a certain amount, hey, don't forget to use your voucher before it goes away. We're also obviously trying to reactivate inactive users. For example, 30 days later, if they haven't opened the app in a while, we're trying to win them back again, hopefully soon with more incentives. And then whenever we have a new mobility provider joining, or we have a new big feature in the app, obviously that's something we want to announce. The most recent integration that we made was with Sixshare, which is, I think, Six is a very big brand in Germany, very well known. So obviously that also helps drag people in. A bit more personalized. I'm not sure how many of you live in Germany and benefited from the €9 ticket. That was a cool thing we had this summer. Where from August, September, July, you could, June, July, August, whatever, for 3 months you could use public transport in Germany for free, all across Germany, just for €9. great deal. They're kind of bringing it back with the Deutschland ticket next year for 49 euros, but still a good deal. So obviously we promoted that, and for the people, I tried to use different messaging for the people that already had bought tickets before and the people that were purely using shared mobility, again, to get that multimodal rate up. Also, depending on the seasonality, in summer you're more likely to use a scooter than, I guess, right now in winter when you're just freezing your hands off standing on it. So trying to promote the different modes, and also if I see that a person has only used one mode, or like I said before, just public transport tickets, I'm trying to get them to try out new stuff.
Did we have this one? No, we have two more.
Two more. Okay. Well, yeah, churn prevention, very important. If a user did install the app and did everything like all the micro conversions that they were supposed to, but are somehow not using it, I'm also trying to get them there and nudge them there for a whole lot. Yeah.
And then finally, we have some of the in-app messaging formats that we provide that you use for user feedback collection.
Yeah, exactly. So product team is obviously always interested in improving the app and trying to find out what works well, what is maybe still missing, what are clients wishing for. So everyone, like maybe once a quarter, will run a survey to ask about some specific stuff. I think the right one was actually a BVG-wide survey where they were looking for people to partake in our like customer council, which is kind of like we test out new ideas on them and then see how it goes. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Julia. So these are just some of the use cases that you can implement with the platform. So just this is the final step, and then we're obviously happy to take a few questions if there are in the audience. Just a few words about what is coming next. So we've just released. So we work with clients and we share at the beginning of each year, the general roadmap on which we are working. The story of Batch is that we started as a very simple product delivering push notifications at scale, and then we evolved into a complete sort of omni-channel CRM system, leveraging the live data we were getting from our different web and mobile SDKs. And at the core of the big roadmap we have for this year is something I'm incredibly excited about, which is a little counterintuitive because email marketing has been around for 30 years, so it's not the most crazy innovative thing, but it's been the top requested feature by our client for the last 7 years. And so we took this year 22 to release our email marketing, event-based email marketing solution plugged into the Batch platform. And that is now enabling an increased amount of more sophisticated omni-channel use cases, because obviously in the Jelbi app, users will log in and they'll also leave their email. And this is going to be enabling lots of different use cases across different channels, and the idea is obviously to be able to communicate with mobile app users, but not just on mobile, because they can be obviously on mobile, but there might be moments of the day where it's easy to reach them in their inbox, for example. So we've brought this year a new Canvas product that lets our clients create user journeys and run scenarios such as I'll be based on any specific event, I will send a push notification if it's not opened in X amount of time. If I have an email and an email permission, then I can follow up with an email. And this enables, with this you can maximize how you communicate with users, and you can keep boosting your KPIs. And all of the use cases we covered, you can now do with Batch across this very, very old but also very, very efficient channel that is email. So all of this we will be working over Q1 with Julia and our team to implement. So keep an eye, if you're a Jelbi user, keep an eye out and please opt in for email communication. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it. I think we used a good 30 minutes. So thank you everyone. Thank you for your attention, for being here today.
Thank you.